This is AAT's podcast, part 4, with myself, Addi of Antibiotics.
And me, Aiden Riley.
Good afternoon, Aiden.
Good afternoon, Addi.
How are you?
I'm okay. How are you?
Yeah, not bad, thank you.
Good. I'm glad to hear it.
Appreciate that. So today's podcast we want to talk about is the various areas of inspiration. Now, Aiden himself has come from a writer's background, you have a yoga background, and various other fields that you love.
I'll write that down.
Write that down. So he's given him inspiration there to write that down. So yeah, myself, as you know, or you may not know, I come from an actor's background. As well as a producer and a presenter as well. So various fields that we like to get the inspiration from. So we're going to start off today with the main areas of inspiration, the people who have inspired us, and how we wish to want to inspire others in the future as well. So Aiden, we'll start with yourself today then.
Do we have to? Do we have to?
Oh yes, we have to.
Oh, okay.
Okay. So we're going to talk about what inspired you to become a writer.
What inspired me to become a writer? I guess when I first started watching television, and then during school when you read books, and then you find out if it wasn't for books, there would be no film, hardly any films, or hardly any TV. So I think that's where it came from. See, I always wanted my writing to be transformed into something like that when I was a kid. You know, even computer games are adapted from a piece of writing.
That is true.
So I can remember when I was a teenager, in my early teens, I wrote a 100 or so script for a computer game. Now, the computer game for that was Command and Conquer. You remember Command and Conquer?
Yeah, I remember Command and Conquer.
It was called Galaxy War, and it was about, you could choose any planet and fight on any planet, and you could build bases on any planet, but you'll also have missions to complete. I wrote down all the levels and all the descriptions for those levels when I was at least 13 or 14 years old.
Amazing.
And I got a free game back from Westwood Studios.
There you go.
The people who made the game when I sent off the script.
No, you sorted. Didn't know that, but yeah, congratulations.
Thank you very much. Long time ago now.
Very, very mysterious, this one. But
I'm old now, so it's a long time ago. I'm surprised I remember that.
He still looks 25, everybody. Don't let that look.
I wish I was 25.
Don't let that look fool you. If you can see him, yeah. But if you're also hearing us on the platforms, he's not as old as he says he is.
Yeah, neither is Addi, are you? You're not as old as you say.
No, I'm not as old.
You're actually 24.
I wish.
I think we all wish a lot of things.
I think yeah, you're right. And then you mentioned it. There are people who, like, in their 50s still wish they were
in their 30s.
Yeah, but people in their 50s surprisingly look very well for their ages. Some people who I'm going to talk about is who inspired me. Some of the areas of inspiration, and they still look very well for their age because they've maintained fitness for such a long time.
Yes.
Yeah.
So, writing for me, the people who I've read recently, one of them has to be Neil Gaiman.
Okay.
I read one of his books and it was fantastic. It's called Neverwhere.
Neverwhere.
It's about this guy who's 24 years old. He moves down to London from Scotland.
Ooh.
And during his stay in London, he has a lot of difficulty fitting in. And one moment when he's walking down the street with his girlfriend for a meeting, because she's this big businesswoman, right?
Yeah.
Walking down, all of a sudden, this young girl called Dor. She's called Dor.
All right.
Right. Just turns up out of nowhere from thin air, and she lands on the ground, and she's messed up. And then he tries to help her out, but you find out more about this Dor. Whoever's read it, you would know about it, but you find out more about this Dor. She's actually got magical powers. She's actually got powers.
Okay, don't spoil it. No spoilers.
No spoilers.
No spoilers.
But if you've read it, you know what I'm talking about. It's brilliant. He's such an imaginative guy, Neil Gaiman.
Cool. Well, so like I say, inspiration comes in various areas as well, isn't it?
Exactly.
And the yoga.
Oh, it's got to be Sean V Fitness on YouTube.
Sean V
Fitness, yes. Look him up. He's incredible. His sense of humour as well. He's got a great sense of humour. So you could be doing a yoga pose like the downward dog, and then you could say something ridiculously funny, and then he would just you just fall apart at the seams, and then you probably just end up screwing up the whole pose altogether. But I think you might do that for a good reason as well. It's all about focus yoga. So he's talking and talking, saying all these weird things, and you're laughing, but at the same time you're holding the pose. So there's a lot more going into it than it looks. So Sean V Fitness, there's a lot more.
Yeah.
But Sean V is my top pick for yoga instructors online.
Okay, that's good. That's good. It's good to actually find those various inspirations.
It's good to have a good personality as well, especially when you're online.
Definitely, definitely.
So, what about you, Mr. Addi?
You got a few days? No,
I've got work on Monday, so
that's all right. Yeah. Like I said,
could skip work.
Yeah, and stay here and do the podcast.
Yeah, stay all week, do a 100-hour podcast.
100-hour podcast. That's fun. So my inspirations, when it comes to acting, and so basically, I obviously growing up in the 80s, as I've mentioned before, there was all the big action stars, and obviously there's Schwarzenegger, Stallone, Willis, Van Damme, Lundgren, Chuck Norris, Steven Seagal. And despite Steven Seagal can still, it was amazing watching him the first time when he first emerged onto the scene, because nobody had seen a martial art like that before. Aikido. When I trained in it myself, I had a few lessons in it. I was like, it looks as effective as it does on TV.
Jiu-jitsu.
I actually have done a couple of lessons of jiu-jitsu. And jiu-jitsu, I tell you one thing, it's an amazing groundwork of a martial art. It's a lot of grappling, a lot of locks and everything like that. And it's really great fitness.
A bit like wrestling.
A bit like wrestling, but it's more based on the ground, because they say, a few people I've known over the years, they say that if you're going to get into a street fight, there's a 99.9% chance that fight's going to end up on the floor. So you got to learn how to get out of it. And jiu-jitsu.
That's where jiu-jitsu comes into it.
Yeah, jiu-jitsu comes into it. There's also sambo, which is a Russian martial art based on leg locks. Only based on leg locks, and it's absolutely amazing.
So is this cooking.
If everyone can hear, yeah. Right, so when it came to acting, because I was actually, like I mentioned, I was actually studying to be a policeman, but it just wasn't exciting to me anymore. I just lost the enthusiasm for wanting to become a policeman. I'd rather play one on TV and not only would you get paid more, but then there's no risk factor of get someone pulling a real gun out on you. And yeah, so
You could have ended up on Line of Duty.
Yeah, exactly, yeah. And then basically how I got into acting was when I left school. I actually did a few plays and performances in school, and then I went into when I went to college. When I was studying to be a policeman, I dropped out and decided to go off and want to learn acting. And not many people are very happy about that. I was like, "What's wrong with you? It's not a real paying job." I said, "Yeah, but I have to try eventually."
More freelance work.
It is more freelance work.
Not guaranteed money.
Yeah, but like, unless you have a regular type.
Unless you're Leonardo DiCaprio or Will Smith.
Yeah, or even if you're a TV actor, they still get paid amazing amounts of money, and good luck to them all out there as well. And so I started. One night I was actually just watching the movie Rocky, and obviously one of the biggest inspirational movies of all time. It spawned off 5 sequels, 2 spin-off movies as well. With Creed 1 and 2, and Creed 3 is coming up pretty soon as well. And the great thing about that, when I started reading about it, like Stallone had written the part of Rocky, and not only did he write the first Rocky, he also directed, wrote, starred and directed Rocky 2, 3 and 4, and Rocky Balboa.
I loved that film.
I think personally, yeah, even with Rocky 5, people who say, oh, it was the worst one out of all of them, I think personally if Stallone had directed it himself, it would have been better.
Yeah, of course.
It would have been way better. Because even his own brother said that to him. Frank said, anytime you don't direct a movie of your own, especially this creation you created, it doesn't work out. Yeah. Apart from the first one, because he wanted to recreate that lightning he caught the first time round with John Avildsen.
Well, the thing is, especially when he's the creator.
Yeah.
If he's the creator, only he knows how it's supposed to go.
Exactly. Yeah. So then I started studying acting. I wanted to learn about, I started learning things over time about method acting. I looked it up. What is method acting? It's where you forget who you are. You strip all forms of your own identity and you take on the identity of this person you're going to play, whether it's in a play, on TV, in a movie. You have to strip off all forms of self-identification. You basically have to live, eat, sleep, breathe, dress, everything like this character.
What a character.
And you have to be called, and you want to be called yourself by the character's name, not your own. Where I got that inspiration from was Robert De Niro. Robert De Niro, without a doubt, one of the greatest actors of all time. I mean, you're talking to me. You're talking to me.
You're talking to me?
You're talking to me. I'm the only one
You
here, so you
talking
must
to
be
me?
talking to me. And everybody else out there listening, you're talking to me. And
Taxi Driver.
yeah, classic movie. Travis Bickle. And it's like I said, De Niro, when you learn about him, how one of the short movies he did once, he actually lost 30 pounds of weight by just drinking water and taking vitamin tablets. In America they call it vitamins. And so, what is wrong with you? It was jeopardizing his health. He goes, it's art. When he did the movie Raging Bull, here's something you need to know. For the first part of that movie, as you see the character Jake LaMotta, for those who don't know what Raging Bull is, it's the movie based on the real life boxer Jake LaMotta, from his high rising career as a professional heavyweight champion to his downgrade where he started going out of control and had developed an animalistic appetite. Yeah, it was bad. And what happened was when he, so for De Niro, when he did the background research, apparently he had his nose broken for that movie.
For the movie?
For the movie.
Not in the movie.
It wasn't a prosthetic nose, Yeah.
He broke his nose.
Full-on broken nose for that
movie.
movie. And then he said, and then what happened was, because the first part of that movie, Jake LaMotta, he's in incredible shape, well toned up, good boxer, in everything that a boxer needs to stay in shape in order to maintain his career. So what he would do is he would actually work out non-stop, and then on the way home he'd park his car and go running home the rest of it just to maintain his physique.
That's incredible.
That is incredible. And then when the second half of the movie where he's gained weight, production had to shut down to say he got this many months to gain as much weight as possible. I think he gained about maybe 50 to 60 pounds. He had to go to a place where they fed nothing but cheeseburgers, big bowls of pasta, milkshake, and he felt so uncomfortable. It jeopardized his health after. That's why, because when I first
It's making me uncomfortable thinking about it.
we're a lot smaller than him, and
someone who's wearing a meerkat.
Yeah. And then what happened was when the doctor seen you jeopardizing your health, he started developing all sorts of health problems, and then afterwards he had to hurry up and lose all the weight after. Same thing with the actor Jared Leto. Jared Leto,
Yeah.
I think he's an amazing actor. He's a great singer.
This is Sparta!
And that's Gerard Butler.
I'm sorry.
Jared Leto was the Joker in the Suicide Squad movie. It's right. It's fine.
There's a price on my head now.
And but then again, Jared Butler, great actor. He got in great shape for that
But
movie.
he's no method actor. Jared
No,
Leto.
I think there are certain parts of movies that he's done where he's gained a lot of weight and he's lost a lot of weight, and he's like toned up a great physique for it. Like 300 was one of them. And another movie he did called Den of Thieves, another one. Yeah, he gained 25 pounds for it, of fat, not muscle mass.
Yeah, but the thing is, as you said, did he actually strip off all forms of himself and replace it with the character completely? He may not have done.
Yeah, but Leto, on the other hand,
Leto does.
especially when he did this movie, I think it was called Chapter 24, 27.
I haven't seen it.
Yeah, he played a movie. There's a character he played in that movie where he gained about 70 pounds of weight by drinking melted ice cream with olive oil in it to cause the bloatness. And when you look at him in that, he was like, that is not Jared Leto. It was Jared Leto. When he did the movie Requiem for a Dream, he played a drug addict in that. And he lost so much weight for it. He goes, he avoided himself having sugar, he avoided himself even sleeping with his fiancée at the time, and that time was Cameron Diaz, a beautiful lady. And
especially back then.
Oh, she still is.
Something about Mary.
The Mask.
Mass.
That's where most guys fell in love with her.
Oh, wow.
Well, she's a beautiful lady, and
She is.
and if you're listening, wish you all the best. And so basically, yeah. So he like lost all forms of himself for that, and then when he did the Joker, he proper immersed himself into that character, the Joker. And despite what people may have said, I think he still turned in a pretty good performance. The sad thing was, they didn't give him too much screen time.
Well, the thing is about him in the Suicide Squad, right? You are talking about the Joker Suicide Squad, right? What he was given was brilliant.
Yeah.
Right. But what he played, how he performed was brilliant. What he was given, right? I don't think it was not as good.
Yeah.
But you can only take what you're given.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Right?
So
and
if he's not,
Sally was given that kind of character, that kind of Joker.
Yeah. And he wasn't basically given that much screen
He
time.
did a great job.
Yeah, he did. He did
The screen time he was given was not enough.
Yeah.
But when he did show up, he did a great job.
All his friends were scared of him when he was the Joker. He'd go home with the green hair. He'd go home with the tattoos that was painted on him. He'd go home with the just the Joker, not Jared.
He stayed in the role. That's what he did.
For the whole duration of the movie, even when the cameras weren't rolling, he's still in that movie.
That's what Heath Ledger did.
Yeah, same thing.
Heath Ledger.
And yeah, so other inspirations as well. Like for example, going to the gym. Again, going back to the 80s, what did we always see? The big, strong guys like
The big muscular guys.
Lou Ferrigno was one of them.
Always holding a machine gun.
No, he wasn't. Lou Ferrigno was just. He was actually the Incredible Hulk.
Lou Ferrigno, yeah.
Yeah.
Bruce
So
Banner.
I read about how. Did you know he was actually born deaf? I couldn't believe that when
I did not know that.
Yeah, when I read about it, he had hearing problem where, for a while, for the kid, his parents were wondering why doesn't he talk. Then when they found out later on, he had an infection, and lost about 75% of his hearing. And kids used to bully him all the time in school, making fun of him, calling him stupid and calling him deaf and dumb and every other horrible insult that was known to man. And then one day he actually read the comic book of the Incredible Hulk, and he fell in love with that character. Because right there he just goes, I want to be like that. And then he saw a magazine called Muscle Power, and there was a very top bodybuilder at the time on there. And he just was admired by all the physiques. He started collecting all the magazines, and then he started going to the gym. And then he goes, one day I want to get so big, so strong, nobody picks on me ever again. And look what he got.
Yeah, he actually did.
He actually did. And he became Mr. Universe twice. And believe it or not, in the 70s, he was the tallest bodybuilder and the biggest one on the face of the earth. 6'5", 275 pounds. Largest arms in the world. About 26 inches his biceps were around. That's how massive this guy was. He was just an inspiration. The thing I liked about him, and I still like about him, he's a very sweet guy. Follow him on Instagram. He's so sweet the way he talks to people. And he's just very kind, very humble and everything.
I think he's learnt a lot through his time, though, hasn't he?
He has,
especially when you get bullied in school.
Yeah.
I think you learn to be nice to others because you don't want to have that happen
No,
to
you
other
don't.
people.
You don't want that to happen because you know what it's gone through, and then you're a hypocrite.
Of course.
You're a big time hypocrite if you message that about somebody else, saying, "Oh, haha, you're getting picked on." Like, weren't you picked on before? Enough said.
Exactly.
Close your mouth. Don't say anything.
With his experience also.
Yeah,
Because
exactly.
the older you get, the more,
Yeah,
for a lot of people, the older you get, the more experience you gain, and the more you want to share with others, the more you want to teach others as well. So I think the more you teach others, especially when you've been bullied, they're not going to do it either. And especially if you've got kids.
Yeah, exactly.
So if you've been bullied, and you find out that your kids have been doing the bullying,
That's bad.
that
so
is
bad.
when you actually start to knuckle down and realise that I don't want my kids doing that because that happened to me.
Yeah, exactly.
I was bullied a few times in school myself.
Yeah, exactly. And same thing with even Arnold Schwarzenegger. He inspired people to start lifting weights, not necessarily to become Mr. Universe or compete in a
Just to
professional.
do it as a hobby.
Just to do it as a hobby, and look what he's done. Even now, he's in his 70s. He's still in incredible shape.
Yeah.
Same with Frigno. In his age, he's still in incredible shape
Same with
as well.
Stallone.
Yeah, they always still maintain that fitness all them years. And then I read about, so what else got him inspired into the gym? obviously growing up watching Rocky, watching Rambo, them two, Rocky.
What's your favourite Rocky?
That's asking me what's my favourite chocolate bar. Actually, I think definitely the first one, Rocky 1. Because if you look at Rocky 1, it's not just a movie about boxing, it's a movie about life itself. You've been knocked down, but you can get given a chance. So take hold of that chance, or it's not going to come round again. Exactly. I think one of my favourite sequels in the Rocky is definitely Rocky 3 with Mr. T.
Club Alone.
Because everyone who doesn't love Mr. T.
Everybody.
Everyone loves
If you don't
Mr.
love Mr. T, then...
I'll pay the fool who don't love Mr.
Pay the fool.
Pay the fool. And
Sucker.
and believe it or not, I actually hate flying just like he does. I hate the takeoff and I hate that landing. It's like, I'm in a plane! A plane!
I'm in a plane! You want this plane fall?
And then it's like, knock him out, somebody, like me knocking me out. And so obviously you had the good thing about, like I said, what I liked about Rocky 3 was how in that Rocky becomes kind of civilized a bit too much, because you can tell where he's gone from, where he's come from, where he's going, where he's at now. You know, the whole couldn't change where he was from, but he's changed where he's going. He's got a lot of money. He's got a very massive house.
He's settled.
He's settled. And then you get this other guy coming along, who is hungry. He's and if you look at it, I don't think personally Clubber Lang's a bad guy. I don't think he was. I didn't even think Ivan Drago from Rocky 4 was a bad guy,
no.
Or even Apollo Creed, the one from the first.
No, not Apollo.
None of the opponents quote bad guy.
If you had a film of those individual characters,
before
they fought Rocky, or even just a spin-off
from
the Rocky films,
you do
you see that they're not bad guys, because you see what they've gone through to get where they are.
Yeah, I mean, if you look at in Creed 2, now that you mentioned spin-off, you brought back Ivan Drago after so many years, and then you found out what had happened to him ever since the night of that fight, and that was really interesting. But as I say, going into back into Rocky 3, when he was given that chance, the shot at the title, to become a world champion, and he won. And all this new character, Clubber Lang, wants the same thing. You know, he says to him in the press conference, when he interrupts him, he goes, "You got your shot, now give me mine. Your family's doing really nice. You call yourself a fighter. Prove it now. Give me the same chance."
Yes.
I like that about him, because it's true that he's like saying you're being a hypocrite in a way. You know, you've got everything. You've got, you know, you're wearing nicer suits.
Nice house,
all
nice area.
Your hair's. It's true that, because if you look at Rocky and Rocky 3,
he's fancied up.
He's all fancied up.
He's like a film star now.
He is. People said that.
Rocky 1 and 2, right?
Yeah.
He's rugged. He's rough. He's tough. He's ready to go.
Yeah.
He's mean.
Yeah.
He's hungry. He will not stop until he gets what he wants.
Yeah, exactly.
And then in number 3, you can tell from the start in number 3 he's going to lose. You can just tell, because he's arrogant. He's
developed a level of arrogance, now that you mentioned, because if you look at, now that you mentioned it as well, if you look at that scene where he's wanting to fight him and Mickey's like, no, forget it.
It's got sponsorships as well now,
what was really funny in Rocky 2, if you remember that scene where he's trying to read the billboard, trying to do that advert, he can barely read. It's true that he could barely read, and you find out he's got a problem with the eye, because Apollo's hit him so many times in the eye in the first fight. And then he goes, what does that say? I can't read. No, you can't read. And then in Rocky 3 at the beginning, we see Clubber Lang's rising through the ranks. And Rocky's like presenting an advert for MasterCard, so American Express. And then you have him doing the adverts on the Muppet Show. Then you had
Mickey as well.
Mickey's like,
losing it.
He's like saying, what is wrong with you?
What are you doing?
Yeah.
And Rocky's like,
no, don't worry about it.
Don't worry about it.
Don't worry.
He's got a suit on, it's like,
no, and then all of a sudden his hair's nice and coiffed, and it's like, who is this guy?
Exactly.
And then when he sees him, then Mick says that to him, the worst thing that happened to you, that happened at any fighter, you got civilized.
Sold out.
You sold out. He goes, so you should just retire now. And then he goes, no, this one last fight, and that's it, we're done. He goes, I don't trust this guy. Just one fight, Mick. And then if you look at it in the training sequence, for the first fight, Rocky is doing like some kind of Las Vegas type training.
People have come to watch, the press are there, he's just he's not actually looking like he's
He's not-
training.
he's
He's
not
looking
training.
at the camera, isn't he?
He's like this.
And everyone's taking shots. And
They
he's like,
interrupt him, he lets them interrupt him. He's like when he's hitting the, the speed bag is.
that's
don't
a
you?
good question.
Yeah, and then he's like hitting the speed bag, and then he's like, the guy's like, hey, Rock, I'll picture. Yeah, sure. Takes the pose, and that's
Mickey's
it.
like this.
What are you doing? And you see Clubber Lang, he's aggressive. He's like,
Just like Rocky in 1 and 2.
yeah, and then he's like doing all those power mad push-ups.
Yeah.
He's like, "Rah, rah." You could tell he's working hard. He's hungry. But then you see him one of my favorite scenes in that bit is where, because obviously I train in boxing. One of the scenes where he's like hitting the heavy bag, Clubber Lang. He's like hitting it with full force, full ferocity. It's like, this guy's going to do some damage when he gets in the ring.
You know he's going to beat him.
He knows he's going to beat him.
Side by side, you've seen one training.
Yeah.
You've seen Rocky doing his fancy stuff.
Yeah.
Right? Stopping for the camera, having a shot with the
All
camera.
the girls are kissing him.
Exactly.
Yeah.
He's trying to do some hard work. He stops to ask questions, answer questions. You think,
Are you for real or
he
what?
is not going to win this fight. No way is he going to win this fight.
No.
Need the old Rocky back.
Yeah, and then Apollo Creed does bring the old Rocky back when
Yeah,
he
he does.
goes, you need to get back the eye of the tiger, Rock, the edge, and then, now you got to get it back. And then, it's true when he says that as well, he goes, you need to go back to the jungle. But you can't go back to the jungle wearing a fancy Gucci suit and fancy shoes. You got to go back in, like, naked,
Yeah.
to strip down everything and then go back in again. So, yeah, but like I say, the Rocky movies are inspirational. Regardless of any of them, they're all inspirational,
Yeah.
one right after the other. And also, martial arts training. I trained in martial arts. I've trained in Shotokan karate. I trained in. I've done a bit of Jeet Kune Do, in Bruce Lee's way, which means the way of the intercepting fist. I've done a bit of capoeira.
Never heard of that.
Capoeira is basically it's a Brazilian martial art. Have you played the game Tekken?
Yep.
Do you remember Eddie Gordo?
Oh yes. I remember.
The martial art he does Tekken in Tekken it's called capoeira. So I use the proper Brazilian pronunciation for it, capoeira. And basically, what it means, centuries ago, martial arts was forbidden in Brazil, and they disguised it as a dance called capoeira. So they're throwing all these fancy kicks, doing these gymnastic style movements and everything. I'll tell you one thing, it works. It's a heck of a good workout. It's a heck of a good workout, I'm telling you. And so yeah, there's Aikido. I got into Aikido because of obviously Steven Seagal, and because nobody had seen anything like that before. Because if you look at it, before Steven Seagal came out, you had Van Damme, you had Chuck Norris, you had Bruce Lee, biggest inspiration ever. You had Jackie Chan, Chuck Norris, yeah, and all their guys' backgrounds mainly, like Van Damme's backgrounds mainly in Shotokan karate.
Yeah.
Chuck Norris's backgrounds in Taekwondo, as well as he's actually trained in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu as well.
Really?
From the Machado family.
Oh, okay.
Machado family, one of the toughest families to train you in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu after them and the Gracies, where Gracie Barra is mentioned as well.
Okay.
And yeah, so when the martial art of Aikido is all about arm locks, throws, using a person's weight against them, an opponent's weight against them, and everything. And then, because nobody's seen that before, like, who's this guy who's just come, this tall guy with a ponytail, and he could make a ponytail look cool.
Not many can do that.
No,
Not even me.
I'm not gonna lie. I actually started mimicking him when I was walking around in school. I walked around. I had a bit of long hair, and I asked the teacher, "Could you just tie my hair up in a ponytail?" And she just did it. Kids were laughing. I was like, "I don't care." And then I didn't care. I just did not care. And I started wearing the ponytail. And I was like, I want to learn that martial art. But back then, there wasn't many schools around in Nottingham that was doing Aikido. And then I learned it years later. And it's aggressive. It teaches you psychology as well, which is amazing.
Well, that's what a martial art should do.
Yeah, you learn about the psychology. You learn about boxing itself is a
Oh,
it's a psychological sport.
Definitely.
Someone's going to come and throw a left hook to your body. You know where to guard yourself. A right overhand right to your face. You know how to guard yourself. Yeah. So yeah, that's where I got the inspiration from, the sports section. And yourself, what other sports have you done? Where did you get that inspiration from?
Football. I used to play a lot of football in my teens and 20s. Like when we were growing up, I used to watch Cristiano Ronaldo came in 2003
Oh yeah.
to Manchester United, and Lionel Messi was coming through as well. He's a couple of years younger than Ronaldo, so he made his name the season after.
Yeah.
And when I used to play, I used to try and fit their styles into what I was trying to do. And I used to just, Lionel Messi's got one of these styles where he keeps the ball close to his foot.
Yeah.
A bit like Diego Maradona used to do.
Oh, he was a legend.
There was no other space that he couldn't get out of. And I got the hang of it at one point. I got the hang of it. And I started to do really, really well. But the thing is, I was a right back. So it was pretty difficult for me to do these things at the time. But when I did go on those runs, right, I did actually try and do those things that Ronaldo and Messi was doing.
Yeah.
So I could do that back then. I had the flexibility. If I tried to do that now, I'll probably end up injuring my hamstring or something like that. You know? But yeah, I think Messi and Cristiano Ronaldo, when I was playing football, those two were a huge inspiration for me when I was playing. So, and I can remember when in school. This is going way back. Now. I used to my favourite wrestler of all time, and you can join me on this.
Oh, please.
My favourite wrestler of all time is definitely Stone Cold Steve Austin.
Hell yeah.
Now give me a hell yeah.
Hell yeah.
And when we was in school, in year 8 and year 9,
Oh yeah.
and in year 10, it's about 13 to 15 years of age, and I had this video camera, and what we did was we all decided, right, to make our own backyard wrestling show.
Oh, cool.
So my friend who lived close to me at the time, we decided to create these characters. And we had our own little skateboard crew as well.
Yeah.
So we used to go around to his house, and I had the CD, the WWF anthems CD.
Oh yeah, I remember those.
Do you remember that?
Everything was always on CD back then, wasn't it? Yeah. And
Nothing was digital.
Nothing was digital. But
Nothing
thank
was
you
digital.
for the downloads and the streaming that's happened now,
Exactly, yeah, it makes it a lot more easier.
and it saves a lot of space.
It does. That's why I read comic books online and stuff like that. But
But I think sometimes when you read an actual, sorry to cut you out,
that's right.
you know when you read actual reading material, like for example a book compared to an e-book.
Oh, it's a lot better.
Yeah, I think do you think the real book gives
Yeah,
you more information? You feel the information is getting to your head a bit more.
Yeah, I do, I really do. Plus the feel of the paper.
Yes.
When when you close a book,
Yeah.
when you finished it, you feel the emotion that the story's ended.
Yeah, exactly.
But it's when you when we did get each other together, we'd started to create our own little characters,
No, yeah.
and especially when it was named after when the personas were adapted from actual professional wrestlers.
Yeah.
I had to go for Stone Cold Steve Austin, and I had to wear my own hat like he had. He had his own hat. He always had that hat on. I didn't have the leather vest on,
Yeah, yeah.
but I had to do Stone Cold Steve Austin, and then it just went on from there. But, and here's the thing, you see, but there was another. It wasn't just WWF. My friends also watched ECW.
ECW, yeah, I remember
ECW.
Yeah, I remember ECW. The other one I remembered was WCW.
WCW, yeah, Bill Goldberg, NWO,
Yeah, I remember that one, and because
Diamond Dallas Page.
and yeah, and I remember all them guys as well. I mean, they were absolutely amazing. I mean, like wrestlers do kind of inspire kids to want to go to the gym when they get older. I mean, like I remember one legendary wrestler. Unfortunately, he's passed away. Ultimate Warrior.
Oh yeah,
He was insane. I don't mean that in a wrong way. I mean, Ultimate Warrior. I mean, he had one of the best physiques ever, without a doubt.
Yeah, he was incredible.
He was incredible. Him, Hulk Hogan. And then you also had other guys, and then they were the two main ones I remember. But I also remembered Andre the Giant.
Andre the Giant. Yes.
Everyone always said whenever they worked with Andre, he was just a big, sweet, friendly, gentle giant.
But if he wasn't happy with you, you would know about it.
He went in the ring.
If he didn't want you in his locker room, I was listening to Stone Cold Steve Austin's podcast the other day, and he was talking to an old friend of his, an old wrestler.
Yeah.
And he was talking about how he met and worked with Andre the Giant.
Yeah.
And in one moment when he first actually started working there, in the WWF, he went into the locker room, and Andre was in there, and he picked up his suitcase and he said, "I don't want you in my locker room," and he threw his bag out. He threw his bag out of the locker room. He said he wanted the locker room to himself. He didn't want anybody. He wanted to be alone. Get out of my locker room and leave me in here by myself. So he just took his bag and threw his bag out. And he said, "Get out." And the guy was like,
I can imagine Andre.
Right, I'll get out.
Andre the Giant probably said it like this: "No, get out!" And like
get out.
throw out the. And not only that, I mean, they say Andre was like big. I remember there was a documentary.
He was also a very good drinker.
I read it. That was. I mean, obviously,
no one beat him.
You could never. I heard in one night he drank 106 beers all by himself.
But the reason for that is, I think it was a medical.
It was
medical issue. So it doesn't matter how much he consumed, it wouldn't affect him as it would as an average person.
Yeah.
And
I heard in one night he drank quite a few beers, 4 whole bottles of wine, several mixed drinks, and if you fancy it, like a few cognacs. And I asked him, "Do you ever get drunk?" He goes, "No, boss. I get a little tipsy, and that's it." And then not only that, they said do you remember the movie he did, The Princess Bride?
I remember the film.
Yeah,
but, it was a long time ago.
Yeah, he played the character called Fezzik, and Fezzik was basically this enormous guy. They said that they needed a giant, and when they met Andre, they said, "Just get him on," because they couldn't understand much what he could say, but they said he's right for the part. He's a giant. And they brought the kids on board. The kids saw him, they screamed and ran off. And one of the female co-stars in the movie, Robin Wright, she saw him. She goes, when she saw him for the first time, she was terrified and she ran in the other direction because it was like the largest human being. I mean, look how tall Andre was, 7'2".
Over 7 foot.
And he was about 400 to 500 pounds.
500 pounds or more, yeah.
Out of pure muscle. He was pure muscle, he was. And then
he was jacked up.
He was jacked. And then Hogan, even Hulk Hogan used to say the same thing. He was bigger than us, he was stronger than us, he was the guy we would all go to. And he said when he went out, when there was one night on the set of Princess Bride, and it was a freezing cold night, and the girl didn't have she had an overcoat, but no hat on her head. Andre didn't need that one, because he was always hot. Whether it was hot or cold weather, he'd always be hot. He was a big guy.
Yeah.
And then, because his hands were enormously massive, they were like the size of a...
he could wrap his whole hand around your face if he wanted to.
He could. I can remember, the baseball mitt, you've seen the game.
Yeah.
His hands were the size of that. And so the girl goes, "I was so cold." He one night came and put his hand on top of her head. It covered up most of the head, like from here. Like the fingers were cut over her eyes. He goes, he just warmed her entire head up. It was just...
From his hand?
From his hand. He just warmed her entire head up. Because everyone wanted to shake his hand every day because they felt like their hand disappeared.
Come warm me up, sir.
Okay. And he called everybody boss. And he goes, he was just like the sweetest person ever to just want to be around.
That's the thing.
He looked like a sweet person.
But that's the thing about wrestling. That's the one thing I love and loved about wrestling. Don't know much about it now.
Yeah.
But I think it's changed now a bit. But back then, when you had the Attitude Era, and before the Attitude Era, when you had the old wrestlings, when it was Hulk Hogan,
the Iron Sheik,
you had
Big Boss Man, you had
Big Boss Man, yeah.
Rick Rude.
Rick
Rude had a level, but then that was just
Brutus
a character.
Beefcake, remember him?
Brutus the
Road Warriors.
Oh yeah, remember them. Hawk and Animal.
Hawk and Animal.
I remember them guys.
They were incredible.
Yeah.
Run a rush.
And who's the other one you had? And there was so many back then.
Shawn Michaels,
yeah.
Bret Hart.
And Owen Hart as well. You had Owen Hart, and then nowadays you had. Then a few years later, you had guys like The Rock.
Yes, exactly.
You had guys like John Cena. John Cena's still an inspiration.
Yes, but he came in 2002.
Okay.
The reason, I mean, this is the thing about where my motivation came from with Stone Cold Steve Austin, what he stood for. You know, the reason why I tried to adapt his character in the backyard wrestling, it was a form of looking up to that character.
Yeah,
every time I watched him, every time I listened to his promos, he was the guy that stood up to the establishment, stood up to Vince McMahon. You know, when you're a teenager, you know, when you're that age, you've got teachers, you're in an establishment, you're going to school, you see the head teacher, and you see the teachers, and you think, you're Vince McMahon, and I'm Stone Cold Steve Austin. So I always had to make sure that I adapted that character, and we did our own promos as well. We had our own interviews, did our own promos.
Yeah, I mean, so when you wrestle, as you mentioned, you wrestled with people back in school.
Yeah, it was in school. It was like the backyard. But we went to the houses. We had the video camera there.
Yeah.
One wrestler would take over and use the video camera when the other wrestler finished. It was just, it was a dream. You know, if I watched that back now, but it was complete nostalgia. But when you was in the moment, the acting, I think it weren't that bad. It wasn't actually that bad because we watched a lot of it. We knew how they acted. We knew how the wrestlers acted. So we kind of we didn't actually go full on in trying to mimic them.
Yeah. But
we kind of made it into our own.
Yeah.
You know.
And now that you mentioned that, you know, when you would wrestle with friends, I would wrestle with friends as well. I remember. I'll tell you a funny story. There was a time when I was up north and we was with some friends and everything, and we were all just playing background wrestling. Thank God none of the parents were in the house at the time. That would have been worse. Like, oh, what are you screw banging up and down on the roof? Or like in case of one of us went through the floor.
They're watching telly and all of a sudden you come tumbling down from the roof. You're like, you alright, mate?
Yeah, talk about 3D interaction.
Hi.
And then what happened was when I remember one time this guy got me in a leg lock, and I couldn't move my leg. He was just showing off with so much egotism, showing, oh, I got him in a leg lock. I got him in a leg lock.
You now.
Got you in a leg lock. And then it was like all of a sudden my left leg got loose, and he didn't realise. And he's too easy like this, like, and then look at me, and he had his face away from me, and then my foot was right there. And he went, hey mate, turn around. So he turned around and I just went bang right in his face like that. And then he was like, oh my face, and I jumped up and dropped an elbow
drop.
And then tagged in another guy. It was 2-on-2, and then tagged in the other guy, and he came and dropped a few on him as well.
Oh my gosh.
And then, thank God we had a stool there, and we were going to hit that with him as well, actual stool. We was going to do that as well, but I thought, no, that would have been...
No, they better not injure him.
Yeah. And I think the parents would have liked it. I was hitting you.
Well, that's the joy about wrestling.
It was,
that's
yeah.
The joy. That was the joy about wrestling, especially in those days, because the characters in those days, right, and were a lot more colourful.
Yeah.
I think because it's gone PG.
Yeah.
And it's more for children. They've kind of moved away from those kind of characters and moved into more, you know, kind of more relaxed characters that will be a bit more obviously child friendly.
Yeah.
But back then, when you had characters like The Rock swearing a few times.
Yeah, he
had
did,
Stone Cold, especially D-Generation X. That was one of my favourite teams ever. Shawn Michaels, Triple H, the Road Dogg, Billy Gunn. Can you remember the New Age Outlaws?
I remember, yeah.
The Road Dogg, Jesse James.
The
badass Billy Gunn. The New Age Outlaws. And if you're not down for that, we got 2 words for you. Suck it.
Okay, no.
I love that stuff.
Well, to be honest with you, I stopped watching wrestling after a long time.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna lie, I stopped watching it, and then it was only recently if it's on, I'll watch a little bit.
Yeah.
But then obviously when you're busy working, so
yeah, exactly.
You don't have the time to watch that.
Yeah, the entertainment level. You know, obviously when you grow up, when you reach a certain point, you know, you grow out of things. But that was my main childhood focus, and you know, as the wrestling moved on, we did a lot more. But the first one was something called the WCWF. But we decided not to do that anymore. And we found out that another friend of ours at school had his own backyard wrestling.
Cool.
And this is where I decided to go in another direction with my character, because more wrestlers from ECW started to come into the WWF,
Oh yeah.
and it was called the WWF Invasion because WCW and ECW had come into the fold because Vince McMahon had decided to buy those companies out. But anyway, when we went to our friend of ours, his house, it was called ECW UK. He had his own website and everything. It was incredible, and I decided to change my look, and then that's when I decided to do Rob Van Dam.
Oh yeah, I remember Rob Van Dam.
And when the new CD came out, I used his intro music, and I tried to do all his athletic moves. There's this thing called the Rolling Thunder.
Which is?
You go towards the ropes. We had imaginary ropes, so we decided to just decide there's like there's ropes there. You got pushed to the side, then you pretend there's ropes there, and the guy's laying down on the floor. You do a roly-poly, and then you do a flip over, and then you land on your back onto them.
Oh yeah.
But it's got to look good, obviously. If you fail, then it looks completely stupid. But that was the other persona I decided to take on. I think I was more like a fan's favourite then when that was happening. But he had wrestling mats and a ladder.
Cool.
We had nothing of that in the other one, in the WCWF. We just had grass. That's all we had. So when we took a tumble, it actually hurt.
Yeah, it would hurt. Yeah.
But when we found out that he was doing his own thing, right, and we brought our video. It was the video camera that did it. It's like, oh, we've got a video camera.
Was it the big old VHS tape?
No, it was just a lot smaller one.
Oh, right.
I think I was really small, so I don't think I would be able to carry that around with me. But we had a really small video camera, and when I told him that I've got a video camera, he was like, yeah, come along, we can use that. And then I brought all my wrestling CDs as well. So it's like, yeah, I've got wrestling CDs as well. It's like, oh, brilliant, bring them along as well. So we used all the old songs and we used the video camera. And when we watched it back, it was like, let's watch it on the TV at the end of the show.
Yeah.
It was just immense to see on the television. It was incredible. The old TVs, the old big TVs.
Oh yeah.
They weren't the slim ones. The ones that were really
flat
slim
screens,
edges.
yeah.
One like that. It was like the back of it was just huge.
Yeah, I remember those. Yeah.
Remember those?
It was like another box on
It
top
was just,
of
it was just incredibly big. But it was just incredible times. But Rob Van Dam and Stone Cold, especially Stone Cold Steve Austin, standing up to the establishment, being told, don't trust anybody, do unto others what they do unto you. I think that was just incredible to think about. Don't let anyone push you around, because when I was in school, I was really shy. I wasn't your typical socialising teenager, especially with my autism, which I was diagnosed at 25. We'll talk about that in another podcast.
Yeah.
But that's the reason why he was so inspirational to me in many ways, because he stood up for himself. He stood up to bullies. He stood up to the people that mattered most. Don't tell me what to do. And that's what I loved about Stone Cold. And like I said, because I was so socially awkward, that's why I fed into him more, because he stood for something that I wanted to achieve when I was that age. So, but when I was in wrestling, that's why I thrived on it, because I could be that character. But when obviously the show ended, it was more of, I transformed back into myself. That's why I enjoyed it so much, because I could be like that. And that's what wrestlers actually are like in real life. You could be having a really, really bad day, but as soon as you go through the curtain, you can transform into whoever you want to be.
Oh yeah, that's for sure. Yeah.
It's another form of acting as well.
That's what the theatre does as well.
Yeah, well, you know about that.
Yeah,
wouldn't
like
you?
saying it before you go on stage, and it's like you realise, oh, this is going to happen now. Then when you see that curtain open, like, okay, time to get to work.
Yeah, take a deep breath,
And then,
and then you open your eyes.
yeah, time to get to work.
Time to get to work. So, Stone Cold Steve Austin, big motivational for me because of the mental health aspect. Me wanting to be brave, me wanting to speak up more, and that's why Stone Cold was a pick for me.
Cool. No, that's great. So we found inspiration in various things.
We do.
And that's what we want to say to everybody else out there today. We want to say, find that inspiration to do whatever you want to do in life, whether it's going to the gym, taking up a contact sport, taking up creativity like writing, artwork, sketch, anything, just find the inspiration wherever you can find it in life, and that will lead you to wherever you want to go to.
Exactly.
But no one's going to come and inspire you. You've got to inspire yourself.
Exactly. It's like with different aspects, a different sport, like football, for instance.
Yes.
You know, when Ronaldo was growing up, he would have had his own inspiration. Ronaldinho, remember Ronaldinho?
Oh yeah, I remember Ronaldinho.
You had the likes of Maradona when he was growing up.
Yeah.
There's always somebody to inspire the next generation.
Of course, yeah. It goes without saying.
Exactly.
Yeah. But inspiration comes where you least expect it sometimes, but eventually it gets there.
Exactly.
Yeah.
No, you're right. You're right. Definitely right.
Okay.
Definitely right.
Alright, so I want to say thank you again to Aiden for coming in today. Most appreciated. Well, it's your podcast as well as mine.
AA.
AA. Yeah. Well, yeah. AA. Right. And again, I want to give a shout out to Tal for like always helping us out with the producing and everything like that. Much appreciated. I want to give a shout out to our bro Billy for just being there for us and just being.
Yeah, he's a cool guy.
He's just one of the coolest.
And join his podcast, the S3 podcast as well, or Scars Left Behind. You know, it's really, really good. Very in-depth information. Multiple subjects he talks about, but his main subject is mental health. But he discusses many various topics. So join him on Apple FM, at the Apple podcast platform.
Cool. And hopefully we'll speak to you in the next podcast as well. And please, if you made it to the end of this video, click subscribe, get notified, and give this video a thumbs up. And we will definitely be there to speak to you in the next podcast as well, for sure. So thank you again for coming in, Aiden.
No worries. Anytime, my friend.
Appreciate that. And always remember, everybody, 80s rock.
They do rock.
Yes. What he listens to. Usually it's what this guy said, what he agrees with. Should we say that? Okay, go.
Yes, yeah.
You first.
The 80s rock.
Yes, the 80s rocked. What this guy said. Alright, speak to you next time, everybody. Thank you.
Cheers, guys.